Tonight, Kenya Power Company has a new managing director. Engineer Jared Otieno is now the acting MD following an appointment by the Kenya Power Board of Directors today afternoon. The appointment came hours after former MD Ken Tarus was arraigned in court over the procurement of faulty transformers valued at 4.5 billion Kenya shillings. Tarus is indicted alongside 12 other senior Kenya Power managers who are among 40 individuals being sought after over the transformer scandal. Ben Chumo, who is a predecessor of Ken Tarus at Steamer Plaza, was also arrested on Friday over the scandal. Those arrested were arraigned in court today, where they were charged with, among others, abuse of office, failure to comply with procurement laws, and intent to commit an economic crime. This is the fourth time such a big number of government officers are arraigned in court over corruption allegations, with the office of the DPP and that of the DCI playing key roles. And as the Deputy President said yesterday, every government agency is on the weighing scale. He opens up the big story tonight. Let's listen to what he had to say.
Wale wengine ambao wanahusika, DPP, DCI, EACC, kazi yao itapimwa kwa investigation ya ile wanafanya kwa mambo ya wastage, mismanagement na corruption, na wale watu wanapeleka kotini. Mahakama nayo itapimwa kazi yao kwa justice ambayo watadispense kuhakikisha kwamba mali ya umma iko sawa sawa.
Good evening. If you're just joining us, this is the big story right here on KTN News. Of course, it's Monday, the 17th day of July 2018. My name is Yusuf Ibrahim. Tonight on the show, I shall be speaking to lawyers Ndegwa Njiru and Eric Komolo, as well as a council member of Kenya Institute of Supplies Management, Patrick Meyer. But before we hear from them, our lead reporter, Sophia Onuna, is on standby with one of the biggest crusaders against eels at Kenya Power, lawyer Apollo Mboya. Sophia, good evening.
Good evening, Yusuf. What a day it has been. Kenya Power being deemed, some have said, with this entire senior management being charged, spending some nights, 3 nights to be precise, behind bars, today appearing in court, and the defense counsel getting to make their submissions for bail. However, the session being adjourned to tomorrow morning, when we'll get to hear from prosecution on the same. But what stood out from those proceedings earlier today was defense counsel, all of them, taking exception with the arrest, the Friday arrests, forcing the suspects to spend several nights behind bars before they are brought to court to be charged. So we saw that earlier in the day, and following those proceedings in court, then a statement from the Kenya Power Board Chair, as well as the CS Energy, announcing the interim team that will be sitting in now that all of the officers that are before court stand suspended. And we saw a CS Keter who took exemption as well with the treatment and the manner of fashion in which some of these people were arrested, but also comparing the state of Kenya Power now to the fallen Zambian team. He said that twice, so not too happy with how those proceedings are going, but he ended with saying that he hopes justice will be served. But as you mentioned, Yusuf, a man who has been a huge crusader, he has stood out in the country, calling out the Kenya Power for some of those things we've seen happen, including the inflated bills, and getting a lot of people rallying behind him and the outrage on social media. He joins me tonight, Apollo Mboya, an advocate. Thank you for your time. And let's begin with what you make of these arrests and arraignment in court. Senior management at the Kenya Power, including the managing director, the former managing director, as well, on graft-related charges.
Thank you very much. For me, I've been running a campaign called Switch Off KPLC. This is the first start. And I can say that Kenya Power has got several issues. And what they have been taken to the court is with regard to procurement of transformers and also for labor and transport issues that were procured irregularly. Mm-hmm. And for me, it is the first start. But be it as it may, we have to give the benefit that the people are before the court are deemed innocent until proven guilty, and they are entitled to legal representation, and I've seen several of my colleagues representing the accused persons.
Yeah, and you also see these people appearing before court, but as I mentioned, great exemption taken by each of the counsel that addressed the chief magistrate about the fashion in which this arrest took place. Friday night, some in the middle of the night we heard. Even the CS himself during that press conference alluding to the same and saying that it was out of order. You're an advocate. What do you make of those arrests?
We are in a war, and the war is against corruption. Now, when we are in a war, it calls for extraordinary measures and extraordinary ways of doing things. For me, you can be arrested at any time. The courts also do not sleep. The court can even go on at night, and you've seen it even during the election petitions. The courts go on at night. So, for me, it doesn't matter what time you are arrested or what time you are arraigned in court. Mm-hmm. These are extraordinary times in which we are in a war.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you see some politicization edging into some of these corruption-related charges when people say it's to seek to embarrass senior officers who have served the nation?
For me, I've not seen up to now, and nobody has proven any politicization of all this. The people who are politicizing the war on corruption are the ones who are trying to defend the accused persons. And I think His Excellency the President said, in this war, it is you alone. Don't bring in your community, don't politicize it. And he himself has said, even his own brother, he said, if he has issues to do with maize and you have the evidence, charge him. So let's not politicize it.
Yeah. You've mentioned community, and there has been a debate following these charges at KPC that there appears to be a narrative around a particular community having more positions in senior management. So when we're talking about inclusivity, it's not seen at Kenya Power, raising questions. Is that an issue that stands out to you?
Yes, I mean, we cannot wish that away. The arrest at Kenya Power has brought out also certain aspect, and I think people are trying to look at the ethnic composition of that particular monopoly, and they realized that of all the senior managers that have been arrested, there is lack of inclusivity in the operations of that utility company. But that is beside the point. But it is something that has also come out, and we cannot wish that away. Yes.
Also, for you, the largest and biggest part of your campaign has been around inflated bills. Yes. That is what you've called KPLC out on. Yeah. We've seen many people tweet about it. Yeah. Today they face charges on the defective transformers. Yes. So do you think then there will be justice around the inflated bills, backdated bills, an issue many Kenyans have cried about?
Yes. Thank you very much. I think, first of all, I read the statement from the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution, in which he said that, as sad as it may, and the fact that it was taking away all the top echelons of this utility company, this is something that has to be done. Now, the people who have been charged before court are with regard to two issues. That is the defective transformers and also the issues to do with labor and transport contracts that were awarded. Now, what the consumers want to see, and the DPP has promised that's the second phase, is on the issue of inflated bills. And we are looking forward to the second phase, which, for the evidence that I have, will definitely include the Energy Regulatory Commission and some of the staff also, again, of Kenya Power and Lighting Company. Yes.
Yeah. And you have taken to Twitter, speaking of the interference question, which is what in the affidavit by prosecution asking for the accused to be denied bail, they've said this Apo would interfere with other individuals. And so you tweeted about persons of interest in this matter, some of whom we've seen before court today, trying to interfere in a sense of with Parliamentary Energy Committee, National Assembly, magistrates as well. Yeah. Talk to us about this.
Yes, 2 weeks ago, and if we can even start a month and a half ago, we saw Kenya Power under guise of doing community service, trying to influence the narrative that was going out to the public. The first one, they tried to invite the editors of various media houses to a cocktail. Definitely, we called them out on that, and I'm thankful that most of the editors did not respond to that invite. But then, after that, we have seen that Kenya Power again engaged in another form of, I would call it inappropriate contact. The first one was with the National Assembly Energy Committee, in which the MD took to Mount Kenya Safari Club a week ago, paid for the accommodation and paid for their per diem. And on the same day, then took a helicopter and rushed to Rift Valley, Naivasha, Rift Valley Hotel. I think it's called Rift Valley Naivasha Hotel, lodge. And again, entertained the magistrates in their colloquium with, I'm told it was a very sumptuous cocktail in which Kenya Power again bought alcohol, bought several goodies, and actually sponsored the whole of that cocktail. Now, I called out the Chief Justice on this matter.
You wrote to him?
And I wrote to him, and he received the letter on 5th. I also wrote to the Speaker of the National Assembly complaining about the inappropriate contact by the Energy Committee, because the Energy Committee was already investigating Kenya Power already. And we see them now again gallivanting together, and Kenya Power paying for the accommodation. And it was not all of them. I can say some of them, because a few of the members of that committee did not actually go to that retreat. Up to now, I've not received any response from any of them. But I saw the Speaker expressing his concern with the way the committees of National Assembly were acting, hugging the personalities they're investigating in the maize scandal, and all others. And he actually cautioned the members of parliament that they should be doing their work properly and not be seen to be cozy with the people that they are investigating.
Yeah. Finally, so it's a purge going on clearly at the Kenya Power, but the board remains as is. For you, do you think this is something that should extend further? Because we've seen some raising concern and saying all of these issues were overseen under a board that's still in office, and now that is sitting to announce the interim members.
Yes, again, there have been several boards. There was a board that was led by Kenneth Marende, that is now gone, and that's during the Chumo time. There is the current board by Ambassador Mwabu. Now, what we need to ask is, as part of the governance, what do these boards know about all these issues that the current and the former managers are being accused of? And of course, they have a responsibility to oversight the work of the management. And it is high time that the board also comes out clean on what they knew and what they did. Or else, I expect the managers themselves to say that some of the things that were sanctioned actually by the board. It could be, but I don't want to speculate on that. Yes.
So it could be.
Yeah.
Your expectation, as we hand this back to Yusuf, with especially on Kenya Power, because you have been what they'd call the poster child on this one. What is your expectation?
My expectation is that everybody who is actually your viewers who are watching, is that they should take their constitution, read paragraph 8 of the 4th schedule. It states very clearly that energy regulation and reticulation is a county function. So what we should be having is several power companies in every county. The same way we dealt with the issue of water. In every county we have water companies. Now, we cannot have a monopoly at the national level purporting to manage issues of power without devolving and without actually adhering to what the Constitution talks about. We must switch off Kenya Power.
Yeah.
Yes.
And they have owned up to inflating bills, haven't they?
They have owned up to inflating bills. I have a letter from now Dr. Tarus that they inflated the bills. And we are with them in court. Why are we in court? Because apart from owning, they have not told me whether they are going to reimburse the consumers.
Yeah.
And this is a class action which I'm doing on behalf of all the consumers in Kenya. Yes.
Many thanks, Advocate Apollo Mboya, speaking with us tonight. So, Yusuf, this is a story that will continue to develop. Proceedings in court. Chief Magistrate Ogoti will resume tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. We expect to hear from some of the defense counsel who did not get to address court today, and also the prosecution that is asking that these individuals that have been presented in court be denied bail. That is what they want. They're citing flight risk and interference as well with people that could be well informed and in as far as the officers that are involved in this as concerned. So it's a story that definitely is not going away anytime soon, but many Kenyans will definitely agree with what Apollo Mboya is saying. And as far as those inflated bills, many of us have felt that pinch. So will we see a cleanup? It's a matter of time, Yusuf.
Indeed, only time will tell. Many thanks, Sophia, for that. That is Sophia Nunes speaking to lawyer Apollo Mboya. Indeed, this is a high-voltage purge going on at the KPLC. And just a recap for our viewers, perhaps, some of the charges that these individuals who've been arrested are facing. They're facing charges in relation to the award of labor and transport tenders. The companies awarded were apparently not qualified. Most of the companies used fake documents to apply for tenders, and 39 of the companies given the work were not registered at the time of the application and pre-qualification. The report from the DPP says that most of the companies there did not even pass basic pre-qualification criteria. Now in studio, I have Patrick Mayo from the Kenya Institute of Supply Management. He understands matters procurement very well. We do expect Ndegwa Njiru and Dr. Eric Komolo, both of them are lawyers, to join us into this conversation shortly. But Patrick, let me begin with you. Good evening. Welcome to the program. You've had those charges I've just read out just a while ago. And when you see companies that don't have even the most basic document, what does this say about the procurement department, not just of Kenya Power, but of other government agencies? Because this is a story that keeps on recurring in various government departments. What does this say about the procurement department? And do you think the directors or the owners of these companies are so daring they have little regard for law?
Thank you very much for inviting me to this forum to share with you our views. I'm here representing the Kenya Institute of Supplies Management, and I would like to state categorically that the Institute is against anything corruption and supports the government fully in the fight against corruption, which includes improper procurement. Procurement should be done as per the established law. Now, there are allegations, right now allow me to call them allegations, that there are companies which are not registered. If those allegations are true, if they are true, then of course that is a fairly, not fairly, but a very, very serious matter. You must deal with somebody you know, whether that somebody is a natural person or artificial person in the name of the company. And that company must have proper registration documents. And where companies are registered is known. In addition to that, the Constitution obligates all procuring entities that you can only deal with vendors or suppliers who are tax compliant. And you cannot be tax compliant when in the first place you have not yet even registered your business. KRA will not issue with a tax compliance certificate. Mm-hmm. And it's not easy even to understand how such a company, some companies claim
Yes.
will be processed and paid. So if it is true, then
yes.
those are very serious irregularities. But the issue is not necessarily on procurement. You have got to look at the charges. You have got to see who failed somewhere, because procurement is a process that involves various players, and you have got to detect at what stage did the mistake occur. It did not necessarily occur at the procurement. It's not necessarily a mistake of the procurement officers, but we need to see the actual charges.
Yes, Patrick,
to establish it.
but I'm sure you'll agree with me that most of these documentations are surrendered by these directors or the company's directors to the procurement officers. Kenya Powerlight aside, for example, agencies like the National Youth Service, we've seen companies that are barely, 2 or 3 day olds getting, tenders worth millions of shillings. What does this say about the various procurement departments in this country? And do you think the latest, directive by the president to suspend all procurement heads in government is going to at least bring order, some sort of sanity back to these departments in government?
All right, you have asked me 2 questions. First of all, how did these companies manage without the procurement department detecting? When bidders apply for tenders or quotations or whatever they are, the bids are opened, and there's a committee that opens those bids, and the procurement department offers secretarial services. All right, but it is a committee which is interdepartmental. It also includes the user departments, and it also includes other independent people. It then goes to evaluation process, and at the evaluation stage, and procurement only offers secretarial services at the evaluation stage. Again, they are the technical people. They are the user departments. And of course, at that stage, you are supposed to check the validity of these documents. The validity of these documents can be checked online, like tax compliance. You can liaise with the AG's office.
Yes.
You can liaise some of them with the Treasury in case of a particular category of suppliers. Now, in terms of the presidential action, anything that will be done to fight corruption in this country will be supported by all patriotic Kenyans.
Well said, Patrick, and we appreciate you taking us through the procurement process there. But the question many Kenyans are asking, at what point, is it the committee stage, at what point of the process does senior, management get involved?
Depending on the definition of the senior management, but the chief of executive of any state corporation, that's the person called the accounting officer, will appoint both the opening and the evaluation panel. So he may appoint in good faith, and the people in the evaluation may be not doing their job well, but he has appointed in good faith. Now, at the point of opening, it's extremely difficult to detect that a particular document is a forgery. But at the point of evaluation, it is easy, and there are means of detecting whether a document is a forgery or is a genuine document. If it is a genuine document, that's fine. That's fine. If it is a forgery, the evaluation committee are empowered in law to write to the bidders concerned to clarify issues, especially if a document is suspected to be forged, then of course they can be able to write.
Yes.
They can also be able to use various government agencies to verify the accuracy of those documents. All right? So that one is important. But dealing with suppliers who are not even registered, After Kenyans have been taken through Anglo-leasing, I
That's
think...
clearly a very grave offense. Yes,
yeah,
Patrick.
that's certainly a grave offense.
Now, Patrick, once again, I understand you have a lot of experience when it comes to matters procurement. What ought to have been done? For example, let's make this practical. With regards to KPLC, one of the allegations, or one of the charges is that they brought in transformers that were defective. I mean, this is something that cost the taxpayer a whopping 4.5 billion Kenya shillings. What do you think needed to be done to avoid this kind of a scenario?
Okay. Hussein, at this stage, allow me to state that those are allegations. But if the transformers are indeed defective, that again is a very serious matter.
Yes.
The constitution of this country at Article 46 entitles citizens to enjoy good quality products, good quality services, good quality of anything you're buying. Basic law contract tells you that any person is entitled to goods of merchantable nature. So the issue is, how do you ensure that you get good quality products? You must know what you want, which is fit for that purpose. You must bring it down in a specification. You are specifying, you are describing in detail technical specifications.
Yes.
And saying that if, for example, it's the case of these transformers, they must be able to meet the documented specifications throughout. And when the bidders are going to be evaluated at the technical evaluation stage, the technical aspects will be considered. Is this bidder giving us what we expect or not? If not, the bidder will be disqualified, and at the time of notifying the bidders, you will be told that you did not succeed at the technical evaluation level because you failed on 1, 2, 3. Once you are through with the specifications and the bidder supply you, then there must be an inspection to confirm the conformity, of the specifications which were stated. Now, it will depend on when these particular transformers were bought. If they were bought prior to January 7, 2015, the old law, the old Procurement Act of 2005 would be applicable, in which case there's an inspection and acceptance committee that will be able to inspect these goods, and if they don't have the necessary technical competence, they can be able to incorporate that technical competence.
Yes, Patrick, well said. Well said, Patrick. We're going to continue with this conversation. From explanation there, it seems if the allegations, facing these senior officials at KPLC are indeed true, then it seems nobody had raised, some